in Indian retail, consumers delight, India's opportunity, industry's opportunity. I would like to welcome Mr. B.S. Nagesh, Chairman, Shoppers Stop Limited and Founder Trail. And then Mr. Venkat Salupi, Managing Director, Tata Trend. Sir, please. Mr. Suman Saha, CXO, House of Brands and FWD at Myntra. Mr. Rajesh Jain, MD and CEO, Sports and Leisure Apparel Limited. Mr. Vedant Modi, Chief Executive Revenue Officer, Vedant Fashion. Mr. Rakesh Biani, Mentor, Nexon Omniverse Limited. Mr. Ramchandra Agrawal, CMD, V2 Retail Limited. Now I welcome Mr. B.S. Nagesh, Chairman, Shoppers Stop Limited and Founder Trail. Sir, now podium is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Before we start, very rarely do I have a session where one of the panelists is celebrating his birthday.
Oh.
Yeah? Mr. Ram Agrawal, great friend of ours, an old industry friend, and he's celebrating his birthday. And the best thing is he's just turned 21 today. You can make out all these guys are wearing black dark suits, including me, and that's Shine. And you know why is Shine? How many of you heard this brand name called Sheen? Have you heard? Yeah. So Sheen में जितने letters हैं, Shine में भी वही letters हैं. आप देखो ये. So this is actually telling you what's going to happen to the industry. But thanks for coming. And somebody is asking me there are not many people in the hall. I said we don't require people in the hall. All of us are friends. We're going to chat, enjoy the session, and hope all of you also enjoy the session. But before that, I thought I'd share some statistics. You know, we have friends in the industry, and if you've heard of a company called Wazir Advisors, Wazir is a consulting firm, and we asked for some stats, and Rahul Bhai, Mr. Rahul Mehta, the chief mentor of CMAI, was kind enough to share those with us. So I thought I should share this so that you get a feel of what we are talking. I mean, we are talking on this panel, and this panel is representing a very, very large part of Indian textile apparel garment industry. So was these stats that was provided to me. 2019 was $68 billion. 2025 was $25 billion and is expected to reach $175 billion by 2030. And the growth rate expected from now to the next years is about 10%. This is about the overall. The market value for less than $12 is 1,000 rupees roughly if you look at it. Is in the same period, 19 to 25 to 2030, is expected to move from 27 billion to 42 billion to 60 billion dollars. So if you look at this panel is sitting here trying to explore the opportunity of a $62 billion opportunity in this country in the next 5 years' time. I was in another conference where we were talking things like this, and there was a bureaucrat sitting next to me. He says, Nagesh ji, कुछ भी बोलिए, जो भी आप 5 साल बोलते हो ना, 10 साल आके चले जाओ. I am saying even if you take us to 35, not 2030, we still are talking about a $60 billion opportunity. But I think it's a huge opportunity that we are sitting on. And some of the retailers, I mean, there are listed players like Zudio sitting here, Vedant sitting here. And if you look at the listed players and look at the kind of growth that's happened, the number of stores that they have added, 100 stores every year. And we had heard of this happening in China, never in India. Okay, now we're talking of 100, 200 stores a year. The store count has increased from 10%. Ma'am, can you please come on the mic and talk? So it's actually, if you look at it, it has been really 100% growth in store count. This has never happened. That's the kind of capital which has been put into the market because there's a market opportunity. We also know the rural population in this country, 64%. But if you look at the consumption that's happening, it's happening both in rural and in urban. And the beauty of this is, if you go on the road, anywhere, or go to the Bharat Tex, you can't find out who's wearing a $100 garment or who's wearing a $10 garment. because fashion has been democratized, and I think that's the biggest opportunity that's happened in the country. And the other thing that's happened, it's not part of the discussion, but we can discuss and ask questions, is that a lot of businesses have emerged to actually support the retail ecosystem. You have franchise-owned, company-operated, you have franchise-owned, owner-operated. There are hundreds of models which is coming, which means shift of capital from the brand to somebody else whose business is to run stores. Okay, this is actually showing the overall opportunities that has been set up in the country for growth of modern retail and of course the growth overall. Wazir also estimates that 77% of the market is still with tradition, which is the traditional market in the value segment is 77% and growing at 3% a year. Whereas the Zudios and the Max and the Style Union and the Intunes of the world, the value format, the B2 retail, are growing at the rate of 16% a year. So traditional growing at 3% and modern growing at 17% or 16%. So you can actually calculate the opportunity. So ladies and gentlemen, we are sitting here with probably the best panel that could be, you imagine, for a value retail format, or fashion retail, or affordable fashion in front of you. And I would like you to give a big hand. And a real big hand. Thank you. So I'll open up the question, start with you, Venkat. He was trying to pronounce his name. Don't pronounce his name. Venkat is the name. That's what all friends call him. Is the market really as big that we are talking of? Is the number of saying $60 billion of fashion, affordable fashion, value market? Because you are probably the largest player along with one or two other brands. But is there the market size as big?
Nagesh, I guess you summarized it very well. I just want to, talking about statistics, I just want to step back for a minute. Any data point in India, there is always a challenge. The one data point which possibly is not to be doubted, and I've never seen anybody doubt, is the fact that we have 1.4 billion people. And the reality is, the 1.4 billion people, whatever said and done, need to be fed, need to be clothed, need a place to stay. And to that extent, we are addressing something which is almost integral to being alive. So I just can't see why the market opportunity doesn't exist. Whether we are relevant, whether modern trade satisfies it, whether a traditional market satisfy it, whether foreign retailers satisfy it, we can keep debating ad nauseam. But the scale of the market itself, I'm not sure there is a challenge. Now, whether you call it 60, whether you call it 50, whether you call it 100, I guess it's a matter of detail for most of us because we probably don't even account for the smallest of single digits.
That's wonderful. Actually, if you calculate the other way, and out of the 1.4 billion, if you say 600 million is the population which is going to wear this, and you talk about 1,000 rupees, it's not very difficult to reach 60 billion. Yeah, it's also possible very easily to calculate the number if you really want to calculate. Yeah. Rakesh, you've been on multiple formats, and you have been from a brand to a source to whatever, and now you're started styling. Is this consumer a different consumer?
I think
yeah.
Nagesh, if I have to think about the first effort in the 90s, when building Pantaloons, and when I think about what has happened in the last 3 years with Style Union, the customer is matured, right? And the customer is understanding of what he's buying, the kind of trends that he's buying, the quality that he's buying is becoming much more superior, and that's the big shift. And thus the companies are expected to really work more harder. Right? You just can't sort of give substandard products anymore to the customer. You need to serve him, and anybody who is doing that is the one who is going to get larger and larger market share, because the market exists, and these, if it's today 600 million, the number hopefully will become 800 million, 1,000. So the market exists. I think the biggest difference that I have seen is that I think the customer is so more matured and he knows what he's buying. And your act has to become even more superior. You can't have the leeway that one had in the past. You could get away with mistakes, but it's not that easy today.
Wow. So actually, with just two panelists, two things are got very strongly established. One is that the market is absolutely strong, and the second is that the consumer is ready. Ramji, you entered, आप ऐसे ऐसे जगह जाते हैं शायद वहाँ बहुत से retailers 5 साल पहले 10 साल पहले सोचा भी नहीं था. Tell us what portion of your business is fashion? And who is the customer who actually comes to you?
हेलो, मेरे ख्याल से 90% अराउंड मेरा फैशन का बिजनेस है। और पहले मैं आपका उस बात का जवाब दूंगा जो वेंकट जी ने बोला कि मेरे को लगता है कि इंडिया की सबसे बड़ी कंपनी फैशन रिटेल कंपनी, वैल्यू फैशन रिटेल कंपनी बन सकती है, इंडिया की सबसे बड़ी। आप TCS ले लो या रिलायंस ले लो या अडानीज ले लो।
आप अपनी बात कर रहे हो, इनकी बात कर रहे हो?
मैं उनकी बात कर रहा हूँ जो एस्पायर करता है, उनकी बात कर रहा हूँ। तो जो साइज की बात है, तो साइज तो आपके कॉम्पिटेंस के ऊपर निर्भर करता है कि आप कितने कॉम्पिटेंट हो इन टर्म्स ऑफ सप्लाई चेन, इन टर्म्स ऑफ प्रोडक्ट, इन टर्म्स ऑफ प्रोसेसेस। तो साइज इज अनलिमिटेड। मैंने हम देख रहे हैं कि हिंदुस्तान से बहुत बड़ा एक्सपोर्ट होता है इंडिया से गारमेंट्स का। हम चाहते हैं कि हम जाके वर्ल्ड वाइड दुकानें खोलें और जो गारमेंट हम एक्सपोर्ट करते हैं वो हम रिटेल से लेके जाएं फॉरेन कंट्रीज में और सेल करें। दूसरा आपका क्या क्वेश्चन था?
ये कि आप जब जब नए नए शहरों में जाते हो, इंडिया का Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4, वहाँ का कंज्यूमर देखते हो, वो कौन है और कैसा कंज्यूमर है, वो कंज्यूमर को आप दिल्ली में कंपेयर करो, लखनऊ में कंपेयर करो, तो क्या डिफरेंस दिखता है?
मेरे ख्याल से हम लोग अगर बात करें असॉर्टमेंट का, तो 90% असॉर्टमेंट आजकल जो शहरों में माल बिकता है या जो लंदन में माल बिकता है, वही माल अभी हम यहाँ इंडिया में भी बेच रहे हैं। तो अपने बात बहुत करते हैं कि भैया असॉर्टमेंट में बहुत डिफरेंस है, लेकिन हम प्रैक्टिकल बात करता हूँ तो असॉर्टमेंट में कोई बहुत ज़्यादा डिफरेंस नहीं है। आजकल जो एस्पिरेशन, क्योंकि सोशल मीडिया में जो शहरों में लोग पहनते हैं, वही एक छोटा जो गाँव में या छोटा शहर में जो पहनता है वो भी शहरों वाले का ही नकल करना चाहता है। तो कोई प्रोडक्ट में बहुत ज़्यादा डिफ्रेंशिएशन नहीं है। दूसरा टेस्ट या कस्टमर की प्रोफाइल, तो कस्टमर की प्रोफाइल अभी क्योंकि यंग इंडिया है तो हमारा सबसे ज़्यादा सेल अभी मेंस का है और यंग लोग सबसे ज़्यादा अगर 50 के या 40 के ऊपर के जो लोग हैं वो लोग साल में 3 बार खरीदते हैं, तो यंग बच्चे 8 बार खरीदते हैं। तो कस्टमर प्रोफाइल और एस्पिरेशन, सबको अच्छा, सबको अपने गर्लफ्रेंड के साथ घूमना है, सबको आगे बढ़ना है। तो मेरे ख्याल से अभी तो ये गाड़ी चालू ही नहीं हुई है। मेरे ख्याल से जितना हम कॉम्पिटेंस के द्वारा अच्छा प्रोडक्ट दे सकेंगे, मेरे ख्याल से इसका इज द लिमिट। कस्टमर का एस्पिरेशन तो बहुत।
डू यू थिंक दे कैन अफोर्ड इट? एस्पिरेशन की बात सही है, फैशनेबिलिटी की बात सही है, बट अफोर्डेबिलिटी कैसे है वहाँ पर?
अफोर्डेबिलिटी Tier 3, Tier 4 में नहीं है, क्योंकि हम लोगों ने बहुत सारी स्टोर्स वहाँ खोल के देखे हैं। तो अब हम लोग यही किए हैं कि भैया डिस्ट्रिक्ट टाउन में, लास्ट हम लोग ब्लॉक में भी नहीं जाते हैं, डिस्ट्रिक्ट टाउन में दुकानें खोलते हैं, या तो मैंने उसके नीचे नहीं खोलते हैं। तो एकदम अफोर्डेबिलिटी मेंटेन, लेकिन फिर भी हिंदुस्तान का लोअर मिडिल क्लास का भी जनसंख्या इतना बड़ा है कि उसी में आप बहुत बड़ा बिजनेस कर सकते हैं।
Oh, wonderful. Suman, let me come to you. You've been in offline, then now you're in online, and you are part of the whole Myntra group or the Flipkart group. Yeah? And what, in your opinion, in your business is value? Is this 100 discounted to 70 and 30 rupees, or is it the pricing of 30 rupees?
I think what the connotation of value, sir, has changed, and it is, and Rakesh just mentioned. I think information asymmetry is far lesser than income asymmetry, and what really is happening is this fashion and trend and value. We had a more linearity to the thinking that value means this is the trickle down of fashion. I think that has gotten disrupted at core. Now, I mean, I don't know how many of us have heard about farewell sarees. You know, it was a big trend in Google last February. First 10 days of February picked up. Pushpa shirt. There is something called Jimmy Choo sarees that I saw on Google's site. Right now, these are new triggers of consumption, and it is relevant to the consumer who is following social media, who is consuming, and you have to ensure affordability to that consumer. And if you are not ensuring that affordability, it will go to somebody else. The market is there. The connotation of serving for value is little more hardworking. If you are not agile enough, it's not an easy customer to serve. I don't think consumer looks at the markdown anymore, and that may have been the big trigger when brands played that role of I will deliver aspiration to you. I think it's more trend, and I think it's more regional peaks that is happening very quickly as information and social media sort of gets more and more power, and you don't have to be the cheapest, you have to give the package of value for money, and that has to be trendy / fashionable, it has to be relevant, and it has to be within a sense of affordability.
Wow.
That I think is an equation that all of us has to serve.
I think lovely.
That category is getting through a transformation which is by a social media force. You know, if all of us to tell each other what is the last innovation in sari, I don't know. I don't have an answer, you know. But it was one of the big social media trends, and a lot of us had to come up with overnight answers to it. Right? Alia Bhatt wears a particular sari in one of our movies, and that becomes a rage in 10 days. Right? Even in a so-called stable traditional categories, imagine what's going to happen in more westernized, more fashionable, more brag-worthy categories, if I may sort of say.
Interesting. Let me move from one traditional player to the next. Vedant Manyavar has actually revolutionized the whole Indian wear business in this country. And he said Alia Bhatt, and if I take the name of the top 3 film stars, both male and female, they have been your brand ambassadors. Talk about Manyavar going into smaller cities and towns. And is there still a value play, or you play a fashion, Indian fashion play, and value is not important, pricing is not important, what you offer they pick up because it's a fabulous brand? More so with experience in tier 3, tier 4, tier 2 cities.
I think it's been a very interesting story. So, tier 2 and tier 3, I think, operate very differently. So, you know, one of our largest stores now is in a city like Gorakhpur.
That's why I lived 21 years in Gorakhpur, so say only good things about Gorakhpur.
Absolutely. So we have now a 25,000 square feet store in a city like Gorakhpur, and it does phenomenally well. So the kind of money that tier 2 India is witnessing and the kind of money they spend on weddings is also continuously growing. So there's a very large opportunity. Even cities like Varanasi, if you see, or let's say in South, Vijayawada has become a huge city for us. But if I talk about tier 3, what we are seeing is earlier we used to have very small stores, 400 square feet stores, but in multiple tier 3 cities. But now our strategy is changing where we say that, okay, let's not open 4 stores, 400 square feet each. Let's do a 3,000 square feet store in the middle of 4 tier 3, tier 4 cities. That can actually give the consumer a much better experience. And what we are seeing is the level of experience that people require now is dramatically changing. So to fulfill that, you need to have the retail experience supporting the overall.
Just describe a little bit more of this word experience. When you say level of experience, what do you mean? Give some evidence, give some example.
So I think because today's panel is about value retail, I'll give you one personal experience which I thought was very interesting. 2 years ago, I took my chauffeur on Diwali. He said, I want to get a shoe, can you come with me? So I went with him to a local retailer in Calcutta. It was a terrible experience. There were shoes everywhere. We were trying to find a size. Very difficult. This year, we went to Zudio when he asked me the same question. Now the big difference, which I saw, of course, the VM, etc. was wonderful. But when we asked someone for help, he called my chauffeur Sir. I think it was maybe one of the only times someone called him Sir in a long time, and he was taken aback. He's like, "Mujhe yahi chahiye."
Wow. Fabulous. That's a great example.
Multiple levels of thinking to it.
Yeah, and this also actually shows one more aspect which is not part of this discussion but worth commenting. How important is the last mile employee in the business of retail, whether he is in the offline or online business. This experience did not get created because of Zudio the brand. It got created because Zudio the brand and the man who said Sir, and then it became a Zudio experience. Okay, you're not taking the name of the individual, but you're taking the name of Zudio. I think that's absolutely a great, very good example to talk about. Rajesh, let me come to you. You are a brand man, okay? And the question was, is 10,000 rupee Lacoste t-shirt a value or not? From your point of view.
See, so good afternoon, friends. It's audible. Good afternoon, friends. So I don't look value from the perspective of money only. I think in India or even globally, people look at value for money. If you're giving a certain kind of money and that money delivers the certain kind of value that you're expecting from that money, that becomes value. So from that perspective, even my 10,000 rupees polo would be a value for people who wear it, and that is actually proven to be true, because what we see is that once a customer wears a Lacoste polo, it's very difficult for them to go away. And that's the reason we have more than 60% plus repeat customers who come to us again and again for buying. And 40% we acquire new. Out of those 40% again, if we remove that, if you actually accumulate that, then again 60% of that become a repeat customer, then 40% we acquire new. So value we can't really define in terms of money only that it's a value brand, so it's a cheaper brand, the quality might not be good. That's not true. Even for those value brands who sell the same polo, let's say for about 199 rupees, as Rakeshji was saying and as Ramchandraji was saying, even in that case, the person is not necessarily looking for cheaper product only. They're looking for value for money. Even that 199 rupees has to deliver that value for money, and then only the customer will come back again.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, the interesting phenomenon we see across the world, and that's the question I'll leave it open, is the way you see customer shopping. Are you able to really target a customer in one segment? Is it possible to do? Because if you walk on the Oxford Street, you find a Selfridges bag and a Primark bag in the same hand today. The same hand, and one is 100 rupees and one is 10,000 rupees. That's the difference. So, starting with you, is the customer a very clear value customer? First of all, I want to question this: is it a value or is it affordable fashion? Yeah, because when you say value, it starts talking of pricing into it. Yeah?
Right.
But as far as you are concerned, is this a very specific customer? You think in your customer who has a Lacoste t-shirt, he may also have a Zudio pant or a Style Union or a Intune or something like that?
100%. In fact, it's not the question of the same customer using different products, maybe one expensive product and one lower value product, a relatively lower value product. It depends upon a lot of things. It could be on an occasion, it could be on a category, it could be on several other things. For example, I'll give you, the same customer might buy a Lacoste polo when they go out for a, let's say, picnic or an outing or for clubbing, but at home they might wear a value product. They might feel more comfortable wearing that product at their home. Similarly, if you look at the categories, a person might buy a 500 rupee t-shirt, but if they go for a wristwatch or a sneaker, they don't mind spending 5,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees either. Similarly, if I go one more step further, and if I don't necessarily go for value, again, if you say a customer who frequently wants, let's say, a Zara or a H&M kind of product to go out and mix up with their friends, a Gen Z customer. But at the same time, the same customer might like to wear a more sustainable, longer lasting product which is more expensive for different occasions. So the same customer might buy different kind of garment, different kind of apparel, or different kind of outfits also, depending upon the mood, the occasion, the category. So it's not the customer that customer is wearing only 10,000 rupees garment or only 1,000 rupees this thing. They mix and match.
Let me go to Venkat, because Venkat, you've recently started setting up stores which is Star Bazaar below and Westside and Zudio together. I mean, when you set up stores like this, the obvious reason is the same customer who will come all across. What's been your experience?
Nagesh, I generally agree with you, but I'm going to differ on this particular one. The customer is a far more nuanced customer today than where she was 10 years back. She's, we don't probably give her enough credit for what she displays as maturity, in terms of being fashionable at the one end of the spectrum and still seriously value seeking and functionally relevant on the other end of the spectrum. So we have seen customers who possibly shop for kids wear in Zudio and happily shop for herself in Westside and still turn around and only buy FNV in Star. So what's the nuance that we see is, if Westside is not able to stand up to Zudio, it's Westside's problem.
Wow, this is a tough statement. This is a very tough statement that he has made. I don't know how each one of you will take it. Rakesh, then if they're young people, I met two of them who were designers, started a new business in Cochin. If you were to advise them in terms of target customer, or when you start a business, we always said you should have a TG very clearly defined. I mean, how should you define a TG? I mean, in this situation, how do you define? I mean, demographics have gone off the roof. Psychographics, I don't know what it means. Somebody made a fun of me because I didn't know what FWD was, because he said you are not Gen Z. Okay. But that's fine, I'm okay with it. But how do you really define a customer?
So I think, if you're a designer, you're going to make a startup, right? Again, the aspiration is very important to define that. If I'm going to be a boutique player, I'd rather work towards creating signature designs for myself, work very hard and become consistent around it, because that's what I need to stand up for. Right? And that's what people should relate to. If your intention is to be more mass, that means you have to have a larger and a more wider experience. Right? What works the best is when you are able to, at least for the man, I can say that if you can think through solutionings for the man, then the man loves it, right? Because it makes his life easier. So if you approach the product in that manner and he loves that, I think one of the most successful businesses in the most essential category, and now they're opening stores in India, Uniqlo, right? He's selling just basics here forever, right? And when you walk into the store and it says it's a tech company, right? That's what you can do with clothing. So I think whatever you want to do, ultimately you have to become consistent around something, right? The problem starts coming in when one season you do something and the next season you're doing something else, and the customer is more confused, right? Customer must be able to relate to you, customer must be able to your ideation, and not about what is available otherwise. Let the customer decide, he or she will have. I agree, Rajesh, when says the fact that customer has different moods, right? And they have different needs. And there are maybe sometimes that he will like your needs, sometimes he's going to be at a West Side, sometimes at a Zudio. And that's how the process really works. Yeah.
Wow. I think for the audience, I just want to sum up a few things which has got established. I'm so happy to see that things get established in 20-30 minutes with the best of people sitting on the panel. The market is very big, so don't worry about the market size. There's opportunity. You could be one of the top. I mean, you could be bigger than TCS and Wipro and Infosys. I mean, that's a damn good statement to make. I mean, customer is there, and don't worry about pricing as long as you're able to deliver value, which again is fabulous. And then to talk of quality and consistency as being the first and the most important thing to run the business. Great. Now, haven't all of you looked at online as a business? I mean, Style Union, you, Manyavar, is online a large portion of your business? If you're addressing Gen Z, how can you be without online? Any one of you?
Maybe I'm going to start and we'll have this conversation, Nagesh. There is very many models that will probably succeed in this market. The bigger the market, the more opportunity for stratification. There are, Suman and I were having a brief conversation before the session, and if you average everything out, you're nothing for anybody in reality. And neither are you consistent, nor are you doing any real justice. So you can't really be everything for everybody. And the fact that somebody is succeeding doesn't mean you simply copy that model. So in Zudio, for instance, we've very consciously taken a call that there'll be a very big online market, and Gen Z is going to be very, very hooked on to that online market, and yet it's not for Zudio. I think we need to make choices. If we play, just because it's bat and ball, if I'm good at tennis, I shouldn't be playing cricket.
Oh yeah, what a statement to make. Yeah, it's fabulous. Rakesh.
See, I think there are different markets here. You can't. What I've seen is the fact that most online players struggle offline, and because the route to market is different. And over a period of time, depending on how you're looking at your online business, like for me at Style Union, online is more of a convenience model. It's a convenience that we are trying to create for the customer, but I'm a firm believer that convenience needs to be paid for, right? And that's how we're sort of building it. So we're not running it for sales, but we're relevant there. We have a position, and if people like the product and they want it to deliver, we would deliver it. Right? It's a very difficult channel. Right? Costs are very expensive. Globally, I think there was a lot of hype, and of course, when you think about, and I think we've had these discussions way back in like almost 20 years. One has been discussing, and at least today. And I can never forget, in one of these conferences in Delhi itself, one of the leaders said the fact that we would not exist today, right? Actually, maybe we should have ended our lives in 2022, but we are all relevant, and all of us are very busy opening doors at counts, which was unprecedented. And think about 1997 or 90s when some of this organized retail started. We never imagined that we can open 20 stores in a year, right? There was a discussion about opening one store every 2 days, one store every week, and things like that. Right? This is where this market is evolving to. So I think there will be a set of customers. Businesses have to decide if their financial model supports. It's a very expensive category. It comes with this lot of differences out there, and I don't believe the fact that one should try and overlap too much. One should be very, very careful. You can't have the best of everything in life.
Vedant, is online big business for you?
So for us, there's one very difficult part of the year, which is Diwali. Our vision is to dress entire India when they are celebrating festivals which they think are their own. And what happens, we've been trying for the last decade that can you please shop 10-15 days before Diwali, but it's something we've just not been able to do, and that changing that behavior is very difficult, and retail just gets absolutely choked in the last 2 to 3 days. And even with our current retail infrastructure, we can't do more than 2 to 3 lakh bills, right? So the only way, there's about 9 crore Indians who have a credit card. So even if we take Indians who have a credit card buying a kurta every alternate Diwali, that's an opportunity of close to 4.5 crore kurtas. So to address that, we have to go online. So I think that's first part. And the other part from an online piece, which I still think is very large, is today the Indians buying online, it's majorly for price. Price is still a big factor that drives your online purchase. But if you see in the US or the West, it's now convenience. Who has the time to visit a retail store? You give a lot more importance to time as your sort of life goes on. And once India starts shopping online for convenience, I think things will dramatically change, and we already see that with quick commerce, them being a little more expensive than your local Panwari or your local sort of retailer, and people actually spending that kind of money, that change might happen very soon, and I think we should all be ready.
I just want to pick up a question before I come to Ramji. You spoke about saying instead of 400 square feet, we'll have a 1500 square feet or 3000 square feet one store. Explain to me a concept of having 3 stores of 15,000 or 10,000 square feet on MG Road, Bangalore. Okay, how does this whole concept work? I have been questioning this on Linking Road. I mean, we have 3 Nike stores, one after every 100 meters, But how does this work? I'm asking this question because a day will come, and like Rakesh said, people will be opening 1 store every hour. I was in a conference and I was speaking to a Chinese analyst like this, and I just asked him, sir, how many stores do you have? So he said 10,000 stores. He was in the jewelry business, and I had to really ask him, is it that because of my English he made a mistake, instead of 1,000 he said 10,000. But he says 10,000 stores. Maybe tomorrow Zudio will be 10,000 or V2 will be 10,000, we don't know. But explain to this, what is the thinking behind having 3 large stores in the same street next to each other?
So now it's 5, we've opened 2 this year in Commercial Street. But see, the logic is, what we used to see as a trend is, weekend business is typically 40-45% business in retail, and we would choke out at a certain capacity. So when we had, let's say, the 3 stores, we could see that there was this maximum business we were getting on a Saturday, Sunday, and the stores were just not able to do more, and we were not able to provide the experience. So when we opened 2 new stores, which are even much larger in size, what we see is that the old 3 stores dropped in business by about 8 to 10%. But that's also just the weekday business. Because weekdays, the potential is slightly higher, but weekend business potential was so much more that the new stores were able to add to our overall top line of that entire area, and we now almost doubled our business. So that's the core philosophy, where rent OC is more or less similar, and we're able to generate double the amount of revenue from the same area we were operating.
So for those who are not Gen Z here, OC means occupation cost?
Operations cost, occupation cost.
Yeah. थोड़ा समझ में आ रहा मुझे. There's 5 stores on one street, 8 kilometers. And you are saying India could have a retailer who could be TCS. That actually means that you can open 5,000, 10,000 stores. When you go to a city, do you go for the first 1 store, or you think there's an opportunity for 10 stores, especially in the affordable fashion that you are in? आप कैसे सोचते हैं कि एक सिटी में कितनी दुकानें खोलेंगे आप?
मैं पटना का उदाहरण दूंगा. पटना में मेरी एक दुकान बहुत अच्छी चलती थी, तो अभी शायद 8 या 9 दुकानें पटना सिटी में हमने खोल ली है. तो ये डिपेंड करता है कि भैया, बड़ा मुश्किल है इसका जवाब देना कि कब कैनिबलाइज होने लग जाएगी सेल. लेकिन मेरे ख्याल से एक सिटीज़ ऐसी है, जैसे मेरे ख्याल से जूडियो का भी हैदराबाद में शायद 40 या 50 स्टोर है. तो डिपेंड करता है, आप खोलते जाइए और आपको आइडिया लगेगा कि भैया 3 किलोमीटर में खोलना है या 5 किलोमीटर दूरी में खोलना है. लेकिन डेंसिटी ऑफ पॉपुलेशन इतनी है कि मेरे ख्याल से आप बहुत सारी दुकानें खोल सकते हैं. आपको तय करना पड़ेगा कि हर 2 लाख के पॉपुलेशन पे, या हर 5 लाख के पॉपुलेशन पे, या हर लाख आदमी के पॉपुलेशन पे आप एक दुकान खोलना चाहते हैं. दूसरी बात, आपने बोला कि ऑनलाइन, मेरे को अभी आश्चर्य होता है कि इंडिया में अभी कोई सीन क्यों नहीं बना. मेरे ख्याल से ये 4 पॉइंट बहुत ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है ऑनलाइन के लिए. एक तो राइटिंग ऑन द वॉल है, जिस हिसाब से क्विक कॉमर्स ने अभी ग्रो किया है, तो अल्टीमेटली ऑनलाइन ही चलेगा. तो मेरे को लगता है ये आगे 3 साल 5 साल में मेरे ख्याल से ब्रिक एंड मोटर को ऑनलाइन क्रॉस करेगा, क्योंकि उसके 4-5 मेजर रीजन है. एक रीजन तो कि कॉस्ट ऑफ रिटेलिंग ऑनलाइन में बहुत कम है. मेरे ख्याल से आप रेंटल देते हो, वेजेस देते हो, यहाँ पर एक बड़ा सारा आप एक वेयर हाउस लेते हो और उसमें 10 गुना ज़्यादा प्रोडक्ट रख सकते हो और कॉस्ट ऑफ रिटेलिंग मैंने पूरा जोड़ा था, तो मेरे ख्याल से अगर 25% अगर ब्रिक एंड मोटर में सेल का 25% ऑपरेशन कॉस्ट है, तो इसमें अगर आपका सेल और आप कस्टमर को विश्वास दिला पाते हो तो मेरे ख्याल से 10-12% सेल का आपका ऑपरेशन कॉस्ट आता है। तो मेरे ख्याल से अल्टीमेटली प्रिवेल करेगा ऑनलाइन, और ऑनलाइन का मेरे ख्याल से कंट्रीब्यूशन हो सकता है धीरे धीरे ब्रिक एंड मोटर से भी ज़्यादा हो जाए, और जो कि शायद मेरी बेटी वगैरह बोलती है कि बहुत सारे यूएस में जो ब्रिक एंड मोटर स्टोर्स है वो बंद हो रहे, तो हो सकता है ऑनलाइन ज़्यादा चले।
अगर मैं आपको जानता हूँ 25 साल से, तो जब भी आप कॉन्फ्रेंस में ऐसी कुछ बात बोलते हो ना कि ऑनलाइन शायद ऑफलाइन से ज़्यादा हो जाएगा और इतना बड़ा वेयर हाउस खोल सकते हैं, तो मुझे हर बार लगा है कि दिमाग में चल रहा है इसका मतलब अगले 2 साल या 3 साल में कोई एक्सपेरिमेंट होने वाला है वेयर यूल फाइंड फ्रॉम योर ऑफिस एंड योर कॉर्नर ऑफिस देयर बी अ ह्यूज ऑनलाइन प्ले हैपनिंग। अभी आज डिस्क्लोज मत करो, फिर कभी बात करते हैं इसके बारे में, बट आई एम नॉट वेरी श्योर कि ऑपरेशन कॉस्ट इन रिटेल is much higher and in online is much lower. I wish Kishore ji was here. मेरी और किशोर जी की इस बारे में बहुत चर्चा होती थी कि online is so expensive, so expensive. Let me come to you, Subal. Is online, because all of you are now going offline. And why are you going offline when online is so big for you? And why is it that you can't just reach the whole country by online?
Yeah, I mean, because customers are shopping everywhere, right? I think there is a role for shopping experience. I think, and let me decode that for you a little bit. What is online good at? Online is great at value discovery. That's where you are able to penetrate faster, because if you're shopping from an unorganized setup, value discovery, trust is a challenge. Online is great at giving you the width of assortment that an offline will struggle with, because you can actually, within the comfort of wherever you are, browse, if you can, 10,000 styles. It can bring you a faster refresh rate because the data allows you personalization. Every time, every session that you log in, you actually can see different stuff, right? That's the real power of online, right? Offline is where, because the touch and feel, the experience is still important. And I would sort of take a little bit from what Venkat said. There are high stake occasions and there are low stake occasions. There are some high stake occasions where you need a more assurance, stability, and therefore if you actually look at penetration by category of online, some of the high stake occasions, for example, men's blazer, I would argue in general, has a lower online penetration than a t-shirt, for example, right? And that is a dynamic for which you'll probably be a little more omnichannel. And if you're an online first brand, obviously offline first brand, online gives you the convenience. It gives you the ability to show all your stores at one go, depending on where the customer is located. So I don't think it is going to be this or that. It is an amalgamation of two, depending on what you are going after. If you are, like he's saying, is stopping expansion at a certain level because the population density doesn't support the OC and the other retail cost, online is a much cheaper variation to reach that customer. Now, how do you sort of engage the customer better, and how does that customer develops the market? You can decide on your channel strategy, but online serves a few very important.
I saw Rakesh Biani picking up the mic.
No, at least, whatever I have seen in terms of the maths of everybody that are there on the online, and there are certain convenience product, quick commerce, we're talking about delivering FMCG, etc. Stunning work happening. Also, there was an article, I think in yesterday's newspaper, talking about 1,500 crores being invested every month, right, to keep us all happy on a quick delivery, right. I have ordered some chewing gums yesterday. It took 4 minutes to deliver. It took longer for me to keep my phone down and unlock it, right. So that's but I think the rent is getting replaced by Google and Meta. Right? They take away all the rent, right, because the cost of advertising is so expensive. When you talk to somebody who's the expert, he says, if you're able to do 1:1, it's great. 2:1 is outstanding. That is, if you spend 1 rupee, you get 1 rupee of sale. Amazing work done. 2:1, you're brilliant, and 3:1, you're outstanding. Right? Now you think about it, that how much money are we going to say? And of course, all of this is on a hype which says that you're going to have a retention and you're going to have a repeat customer. But there's so many other people who are coming in. So, but what happens, why does a customer come back to a store? And which is where I think Vedant is trying to say the word experience multiple times, and all of us will say the customer needs validation. That's where that team in the front end is very important. He or she, the word sir, ma'am, it's looking good, right? I'm telling you, I've tried it out, right? And I remember once at a retail store and I told my guy, I said, let's see, he was seeing himself in the mirror with his wife, and wife says it's good, and I did like this from the back, and he didn't buy it. That's validation. I didn't even know that.
You were able to overrule his wife?
I did it very subtly.
Amazing.
You just think through it. But this is what happens, right? Today you look at what is happening in the store. When you're going to the store, so many video calls are on.
Yeah.
When customer is shopping, what is she doing? She's just taking validation from somebody or the other. Right?
No,
the retail stores are here to stay.
Absolutely.
Right? How will the retail store just disappear?
Absolutely. Actually, this is a very important point of validation. As retailers, we should teach our associates to get into conversation and not just communication, so that you can help them validate. And I have an example of many years back, but I just want to add on a little humor there. I was on a floor where we used to sell hair clips, and the associate, the lady who used to be there in the hair clip section, she took off without informing of some emergency. So there was a guy next door. I told him, boss, you manage the hair clip section. He said, मुझे इसके बारे में कुछ पता ही नहीं है, ऐसे कोई बात नहीं. She was not there for 3 days. All the 3 days, the sale tripled. So I came down on the 4th day and I caught up a customer and said, ma'am, what do you think about this guy? She says, very good. So I said, what about the earlier girl? She was also good. So I said, why is it that you're buying so much? Every time I wear a hair clip, this guy smiles and says, madam, you look beautiful. The girl never told me that, because I think she's jealous of me. I mean, look at what kind of a validation can happen with customers. But that's the beauty of customers. Since we are talking of people. Yes, Rajesh, you want to say, please go ahead.
So I would just like to add here, I think it's not a question of online or offline. We feel that the same customer would also go offline for the experience, but the same customer might end up buying online also for the sake of convenience. We ourselves have experienced that we can analyze our data, and then we see that the same customer, they will come to our shop for experience, they would look for this validation, they would look whether once they have the outfit, whether it's looking good on them or no. And if it looks good, then they will buy it, otherwise not. But the same customer would also buy online, because it's not always possible to go to the store and buy it. My firm belief is that our online contribution has been increasing quite a lot, and it's close to about 25% of our sales now.
This is on full price or only during discount?
No, it's both ways, including both full price and EOSS part. We don't give discounts, otherwise only on end of season sale we give a discount. But what I do feel is that in a country like India, where experience also matters and convenience also is required, both online and offline will continue to coexist for a very long period of time. It's not that online is going away or offline is going away. Though I have my own reservations about the sustainability of quick commerce, though it's very good from the customer's perspective, but from the retailers or the person who is running it, I think it's not sustainable on the bottom line in near future or in even the far off future. When Rakesh ji was also saying the same thing, that you spend 1 rupee to get that 1 rupee. In quick commerce, I don't think you will end up getting even 1 rupee if you spend 1 rupee. You'll have to spend 2 rupees to get 1 rupee of revenue.
I'll ask Rahul Bhai sometime to organize a panel discussion on quick commerce, because that's very interesting. And for those of you who don't know, I've written a book called Serve, Please Buy. It's a part of my selling. I've actually said that quick commerce is going to change the social fabric of this country. I'll give you 2 examples, and the personal examples I've met. Today, if you look at it, a house can be without a kitchen. You just need an oven and a refrigerator, that's all. Okay, because I was talking to some people in Chayos and they said we start delivery at 6 o'clock in the morning. किस लिए? बोलता चाय. मैं बोला लोग चाय भी नहीं बनाते. He says नहीं. कौन लोग हैं? He says from bachelors, singles to couples. Okay, that's what is happening. So you don't require kitchen in this country. I was talking to a 65-year-old lady who's a fan of Big Basket Insta, whatever that, Big Basket now. She is saying, नागेश जी सोच रही हूँ कि मैं किचन में ना ये जितने कंटेनर निकाल दूँ, क्यों रखूँ? जब चाहिए तब मंगा सकते हैं. So I'm just look at what is happening to the social, and look at if all our street stores become dark stores, what will be the situation? I mean, this is a different day, we'll talk about it. You picked up the mic, Venkat.
Nagesh, this is a very interesting conversation, right? I want to just second what Rajesh has now said. couple it with what Rakesh talked about, validation. We see this in Westside because in Westside we do it for the sake of convenience. It's just nothing different in terms of what is available in store versus what's available online, and it's only available through our channel. And we used to think, Suman, at a point there were live arguments about, oh my God, if you're not present in the marketplace, you wouldn't be relevant online. Lo and behold, 10 years later, we are at a place where we're very happy with the level of growth that we're seeing purely our own platform with Westside.com as well as the app. Because, Rakesh, the customer is getting validation from the store, turning around and doing it online, Rajesh, from a convenience perspective. It's not a customer. Yes.
And the trust builds up.
And the trust builds up, because if you deliver in store, she believes that she will get the same level of visibility of, trust, of saying I can buy with this brand and I turn around and get a product which I can, enjoy. I get the convenience of getting online. I don't get a better price. I may not get it in 10 minutes, but I get the convenience of accessing this brand online. Whereas the reverse is also true. In fact, 33% of customers who only shop online for Westside, including on Tata Click as well as Tata Neu, actually shop in store.
Wow. And they are new customers?
They're completely new customers, and our acquisition cost is negative.
Wow.
Because we don't turn around and pay Google and Meta, and if you pay Google and Meta, it might as well forget it. You're working for them, and they give you statistics to reinforce that, rather than turn around and build a good business.
Wow. You should have a panel where you have a Google, Meta, Venkat, and Rakesh. I will moderate the panel. Okay? And I'll ask Suman to come or get a Gen Z there because it will be difficult for me to use the words. Okay, for a moment, let's go back to a very, very big opportunity sitting in India for value retail. That's about employment opportunities. Okay, modern retail was restricted to the top 10, 20 cities. Now it's gone to 100 towns, maybe 1,000 cities. Yeah. Every modern retailer, brick and mortar, employs between 5, 10, 15, 20. Your average Zudios will have how many people?
Between 20 and 40 people.
20 and 40. Let's take 30 for example. What about an average store of yours? How many people will work there?
35.
30. So if you just look at 30, and today as of now we have maybe about 1,500 stores put together on this panel, and the opportunity is 100,000 stores. When you look at the maths, 100,000 stores, 1 lakh into 30 people is 3 million employment generation. And this is good retail and good employment generation that can happen in the country. Now, I think this is an opportunity run by the whole textile industry. The ministry should really look at it. This is an area we should.
You missed 1 0.
I missed 1 0?
Yeah.
On the.
It's 30 million, not 3 million.
Oh, 30 million. Sorry, yeah, 3 crore. Correct.
Very
You're
important
right.
zero.
Yeah, no, it's an important zero. Thank you so much. But look at the opportunity. Here is one upcoming affordable fashion industry business. If there are some journalists sitting here, please make a note of it. This is important. This industry which is upcoming can actually create 30 million jobs, and good jobs and respectable jobs in cities where you don't have to encourage migration. I mean, you will give Gorakhpur wale ko Gorakhpur ka job, usko Lucknow aane ki zarurat nahi hai. I think that is very, very critical. Yeah, Rakesh, you're saying something.
But what about the entire ecosystem that is going to get supported?
Oh yes,
Manufacturing.
absolutely. I actually want to come to that.
And this entire hall numbers 1 to 11.
Yeah.
All of them are contributing to what is going to happen in that store, right?
Absolutely. So I think this is the employment generation of this industry is very large. हाँ राम जी.
यहाँ एक चीज मैं बोलना चाहूँगा कि सबसे अच्छी बात है कि उनके लाइफ में बहुत वैल्यू एडिशन होता है. मेरे को याद है कि जो बच्चा मेरे यहाँ 3,000 रुपया पर मंथ में काम करता था, वो अभी 2 लाख 2.5 लाख रुपया पर मंथ में हमारे यहाँ ही सीनियर पोजीशन पे है. तो यही मैं गवर्नमेंट को समझाना चाहता हूँ कि अगर आप एम्प्लॉयमेंट देंगे तो उसको मेन स्ट्रीम से जोड़िए. ये जो फ्रीबीज चल रहा है, मैंने गवर्नमेंट को लिखा है कि ये फ्रीबीज बंद करके, और अगर आप इसको बिजनेस डेवलपमेंट में लगाएंगे तो एक आदमी मेन स्ट्रीम में जुड़ेगा. जो कहावत है ना कि भैया मछली मत दो, मछली पकड़ना सिखाओ. तो ये अगर रिटेल में हम लोग एकदम बेसिक माने मिनिमम वेजेज में लोगों को रखते हैं तो वो लोग सीख के और कितने आगे बढ़ते हैं, ये सबसे बड़ी बात.
गवर्नमेंट आपकी सुनती है?
मेरे ख्याल से होप कि आगे सुनेंगे.
नहीं, मैंने पूछ लिया ना, क्योंकि आप इतना मेहनत कर रहे हो, राहुल भाई सब लोग मिलके मेहनत करते हैं. मैं इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ कि ये आवाज़ पहुँचना बहुत ज़रूरी है. It's very, very important. And Rakesh, since you have such deep knowledge of manufacturing, tell me, in the same situation, Okay, everybody is talking of value retail, but does not realize that the number of units that you sell is very large. And it is the number of units which gives you manufacturing capabilities, and therefore that women or whoever is stitching. What do you think is the relationship of value retail to manufacturing to sourcing and creating job opportunity in that part of the business?
I think, when you think about all the quantity that a value retailer sells, within what an average ASP is ranging anything between 300 to 500, that's what majority of the industry seems to be at. And if you have to divide, we're talking about large volumes, right? The automation has happened only in certain parts of the industry. The real part, which is where the act of manufacture of the garment, there's a very limited automation which is possible to do, and which means that factories have to be there, and factories are only run by people, right? That's the opportunity. We are very fortunate that we have that 1.4 billion people who are going to become aspirational. They'll keep consuming more, and we are actually also fortunate that we can all produce almost all of it here in India. Very rarely do you have a very large country where both can be done together. We can produce it and we can consume it, and that's the largest opportunity. It's been forever we've been discussing it. I think BharatTex is a good example of something that the government is doing to bring in the industry on a common platform. But a lot more can be done, right? It's not enough, right? Progress can happen much faster. We deserve to deliver better value, better efficiencies than what we are able to achieve. The process of randomness is the problem that comes in the supply chain, and the fashion business that everyone is developing today just cannot survive if there is disruption in supply chain. Right? And that's the biggest problem, right? So, and that's the role that the government has to play, right? I think, I've traveled quite a lot to Bangladesh, and some of us also buy some of the stuff there, not by design choice, but it's just the fact that it's just easier. That's one country in the world which has accepted that this is the most important and most critical one. Everything is arranged around saying the fact that this industry must keep running. So despite all of us wondering as to Bangladesh seems to be out of control and not manageable, etc., everything works very fine because it's a very, very critical industry. That's what it should be. If agriculture is critical, textile should be equally critical, and everything should continue to work in textile without disruption. That's what we need to establish with the government.
मैंने जो बोला कि ये इंडिया में रिटेल की कंपनी सबसे बड़ी हो सकती है, उसके पीछे एक लॉजिक और है कि 80 करोड़ आदमी को जहां फ्री का राशन मिल रहा है, वहां पॉपुलेशन तो है, वर्किंग पॉपुलेशन है और काम करने वाले लोग हैं, तो वो अगर मेन स्ट्रीम में आके और अगर गारमेंट प्रोडक्शन और गारमेंट के पूरे सप्लाई चेन में लगेंगे, तो मेरे ख्याल से पूरी दुनिया में अपने जाके दुकानें खोल सकते हैं, क्योंकि कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन जहाँ पे गारमेंट में सबसे ज़्यादा मैन पावर का दरकार है, और मैन पावर अगर गारमेंट प्रोडक्शन में लगेगा तो बांग्लादेश वगैरह कहाँ पीछे छूट जाएंगे।
सर प्रॉब्लम यह है कि अभी खाना फ्री मिल रहा है, 2,500 रुपये मिल रहा है, कल को अगर कपड़ा फ्री देने लगे तो प्रॉब्लम होने वाला है। हाँ, सो आई थिंक दैट्स एन इम्पॉर्टेंट पार्ट, बट आई वुड एक्चुअली अर्ज the BharatTex members, the CMI members to really work on a white paper. When we are discussing about the topic here, we actually said that this industry has become a customer's delight. Okay, what this is doing is building an aspiration of equality across the country. You need not be having a difference because you can't dress well. Okay, so it's a customer delight and the biggest opportunity for the business. I mean, these things, they are very strong there. Is there a way that we can really put a white paper of saying how much employment this can generate across from manufacturing to supply chain to retail? I think this is a huge opportunity, and probably we should not miss this opportunity as we go forward. Okay, I'm just coming to the last one or two questions. Anybody wants to comment? If we're going to open 100,000 stores, is this a very capital intensive business? Do you think that this will eventually become the business of large, well capitalized players? Or you think that even the smaller entities can enter and compete in this?
Nagesh, I would bet that the entry barriers in this business are quite low. And that makes it quite interesting for a brand to be established literally from scratch and build over time. It ties back into what you were arguing for. It is an employment generator without doubt, and Bangladesh itself is a case study of sorts, with RMG, ready-made garments, being such a big priority agenda for the government there. And that's because it's not just at the retail level, it's also at the manufacturing level. It's not just the manufacturing level, but also the whole ecosystem behind manufacturing. So the bet is that it also drives entrepreneurship, and startups don't need to be only in the technology space. Technology is important in the way technology is understood here, but also in spaces like brands, and to that extent I would second Ramchandra Agarwal's point regarding why can't Indian brands be global brands. So one, the bet is that it's not necessary that it is the entry level barriers are high. Two, the ecosystem can be rich and diverse and can be built upon. And three, it could be global brands. And four, one of the reasons why, tying back to the first point, one of the reasons why the entry barriers are not very high, what is the capital investment actually in a store? It's not very high. And also the fact is, a Gorakhpur, your favorite city, or a Dhule, which we just opened recently, could be equally interesting places to open stores. It's not necessary to go and open stores in Rajesh's Linking Road to be successful. In fact, Linking Road is the place where you need well capitalized balance sheet to even survive. Forget about turning around opening 4 of them or 5 of them, Vedant.
That's true. Yeah, so Vedant. Go ahead.
So, there's a very interesting thought here. I feel it's quite counterintuitive, but having a lot of capital in retail business, I feel is bad. Because that actually means you have a lot of leverage in order to create a lot more product, and you kind of leave efficiency on the backseat. You're trying to scale up too quickly before getting the model right in a lot of cases. And that's why if you look at India and some of the most successful retail companies out of India, they all come from very low capital. So if you look at our business, for example, it's majorly built on 10,000 rupees and of a very small amount of loan that was given to my dad. So if you get working capital right, and then if your business model is good, you can always get franchisee partners.
Let me just run across. Ramji, you agree this? Capital की जरूरत नहीं है.
मेरा मानना है सारा बात एफिशिएंसी के ऊपर है. अगर आप 3 महीने का क्रेडिट लेते हो किसी भी सप्लायर से, और आप अगर 2 महीने में सारा माल बेच लेते हो, तो 1 महीने का आपका वर्किंग कैपिटल फ्री होता है. तो मेरे ख्याल से इट ऑल डिपेंड्स कि हाउ एफिशिएंट यू आर, आपकी सेल पर स्क्वायर फीट क्या है, उसके ऊपर निर्भर करता है.
I don't know who are the ones who are clapping, whether they are the suppliers or the other side. I was a supplier, I would say, boss, 90 days बोल रहे हैं, 60 दिन में मिलना चाहिए पैसा. No, I'm actually, one of the facts that I'm getting is you really don't require too much of capital because
मेरे
this is a
ख्याल
cash
से
business.
150 दिन में पेमेंट हो रहा है वेंडर्स का. आप 60 दिन बोल रहे हैं.
नहीं, वो तो सही है. अभी उसके लिए अलग से CMI की चर्चा है. वहाँ एक कमिटी बैठती है वहाँ इस चीज़ को डिस्कस करने के लिए. We'll discuss that separately. Okay, I've come to the last point before we open it for question answers. With so many garments coming into the market, okay, millions and millions and millions of garments, and apparel being one of the biggest destroyers of environment, are we moving towards a sustainable situation, or are we actually going to create problem for the industry the other way? Anybody can pick that.
So, if I may start with this. So, I think that's one problem that almost all the brands globally and now in India, lot of brands are recognizing this problem. They feel responsible about it. So, if I take the example of our brand, we have defined timelines to reduce our carbon footprint here. So, what we do is we hit the nail at the right time from the very beginning. When we start manufacturing, we use the raw material which is either recycled or recyclable, and or it's an organic cotton. So because of that, we ensure that our carbon footprint is reduced right at the beginning, and then we are working on expanding the lifespan of our garments. So again, to reduce the carbon footprint. And the final thing is that once we have the leftovers, we don't scrap them just like that. We give it for recycling only. So most brands like us, I believe, are working globally for sure. We're working on reducing the carbon footprint. In India also, we're very happy to see that some of the brands, I was I think hearing it somewhere, maybe Zudio is doing something similar, Trent definitely is doing something on sustainability, which is extremely important for the environment, and what we leave for our next generation is being actually implemented by the brands today.
Okay, great. So just the last question, we'll open up to the audience Q&A. Does this mean there's a huge opportunity for recycling of fashion apparel in this country as the whole apparel industry grows up?
मैं अभी यूएस में कंसेप्ट देख रहा था कि कुछ लोग बोल रहे हैं कि वहाँ सेकंड हैंड गारमेंट्स की भी दुकानें बहुत चल रही है।
Thrift shops.
तो हाँ, वी कैन थिंक ऑफ दैट ऑल्सो कि भैया हम सेकंड हैंड कपड़े बेचें। हाँ, मेरे घर में एक शायद कोई लोग आए थे कुछ पुराना फर्नीचर लेने के लिए, तो मैंने अपना एक जैकेट बोला ये बिकेगा, तो बोला हाँ हम 3,000 रुपये देने तैयार है। तो मेरे ख्याल से अगर अच्छा गारमेंट और अगर सही रेट में बिके, सोर्सिंग कहाँ से होगा ये देखना पड़ेगा, तो मेरे ख्याल से लोग खरीदने के लिए तैयार है। हो सकता है हम लोग सेकंड हैंड गारमेंट की भी चेन खोलें।
आप मुझे ऐसा ऐसा आइडिया दे रहे हो ना कि मैं यहाँ बोल नहीं सकता हूँ। मैं एक चैरिटी रन करता हूँ। आपने बोला मेरा एक जैकेट बिकेगा, तो मुझे ये लगा कि आज बर्थडे के दिन आपका ये जैकेट अगर यहाँ ऑप्शन करूँ तो मेरे कितने में निकलेगा? अपने लिए नहीं, मैं अपने वो चैरिटी के लिए बोल रहा हूँ। But anyhow, I think that's interesting.
Nagesh,
You can question, yeah.
see, on the, the recycle business, right? This has existed forever in this country. Right? One only has to go to Sarojini Nagar market here. Right? It's crowded with people, and it has enough amount of recycled. But there are parts of the industry, the way they run it, there's also surplus which is anyway selling. Right? So I think ESG has to be implemented in India in the right context. We still have a lot of jobs to get created. If we really want to do, I think the industry has to become efficient, really question the inventory levels that they carry, squeeze the credit that they take from vendors so that the vendors can expand. Right? Just pushing vendors to say that 90 days, I think 90 days is unviable. If you want the business to expand, I think factories have to start earning more money. Factories have to recycle their money much faster. Right? That's far more important today.
This clap is all from the CMEI members. Wonderful. We are going to open up.
Sorry.
Yeah, please.
So just to add to it, so there are three ways in which a garment can be recycled. One is textile to textile. One way is what Ramji and Rakesh ji were saying, that you either sell the second-hand garment or you reduce the size. That if all of us who are a little older like me, they would remember that in old days, हमारे generations में कपड़े चलते थे. My elder brother will
Hand me down was a very
cut down to the size and I'll wear it, and we never felt bad about it that time actually. So that's the best way of recycling a garment. The second way is textile to yarn, and the third is textile to energy. Textile to energy means you just scrap it and burn it off, but that impacts the environment most, and that's the reason that has been done away with. That's the least expensive model. On the other hand, when you say textile to textile, that involves some money. Textile to yarn is the most expensive way of reducing your carbon footprint, and hence, when you talk about whether it's a huge business opportunity, from business perspective, it may not be, because it actually turns out to be very expensive to make a garment from a recycled yarn. But at the same time, globally and now in India also again, there are some customers who are happy to pay a little extra for the recycled garment because they know that they are contributing to the environment, they are contributing to the social cause. So it may not be a huge business opportunity, but I think it's a necessity that you can't do away with. Otherwise, it's just not possible to survive in this on this earth.
Good. Thank you so much. Open up. Yes, please. We have a question coming here, question coming there. We have 15 minutes for the Q&A. We'll take 5, 6, 7 questions. Keep the questions short.
Yeah. So we have this country which is very large, but at the same time, it has that aspiration, but it can pay only that much, right? And because we are trying to serve that through manufacturing, through retail, we are, finding so many solutions to give a good experience at a good price. And I'm sure this opportunity, as we spoke about global stores, there are so many brands that can go global, taking these solutions to the emerging markets, and that as an opportunity. Also, with respect to carbon footprint, we spoke, right? Because we spend less, because the cost is less, the carbon footprint is also naturally less. So perhaps if you deep dive and do carbon study, the Indian brands will be the least carbon footprint brands in the world.
Yeah, but the world will not agree, especially the new environment in that part of the world.
So which brands, which retail formats? We've seen Max and others doing globally. What is the number? I just want to hear one
number in terms of opportunity.
in terms of, let's say, 10 years down the line, how many Indian stores, Indian brands open globally?
They opened one in Dubai. I don't know. They'll go to all GCC countries now. And
So how many stores?
that guy has got a store in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, this lot number. I don't know. Publicly listed. I ask him the numbers. He never gives us the numbers. Come on.
Yep. See, I find this quite astonishing that, we got so much more to do. We got like maybe another 90,000 odd plus stores to open up in this country ourselves. And then we want to go overseas, right? I want this crowd to think through very simply and tell me how many brands actually have been really successful country after country, right? And there are a handful of numbers, right? Because it's not the easiest thing to do, right? You just cannot take a model and then replicate it across everywhere, right? It just doesn't happen because the retail is a business of detail. There is a customization need. Sometimes you can take a brand from one country to another country where the diaspora of population is similar to the home country, right? And that's definitely doable because you're trying to serve the same set of people, right? Their behavior. Because otherwise, there are very few brands which have really traveled in the clothing space, right? Or forget that, there are a few brands who have been successful years after years, even in the grocery business, yeah, right? It's not been an easy task. So my view to you is that this country itself offers a stunning opportunity, right? Why even think global? Why even go that direction? There's 1.4 billion people. Hopefully, let's hope that they all become more richer. They have more money. And if that happens, and there'll be 1.6, that's for sure. Okay, that's guaranteed. We just want that 1.6 to be a lot more richer, not at the $2,500 or $3,000 or maybe $4,000, maybe at $9,000.
11,000 is what they're saying.
But can you please think through that at $11,000 at 1.6 billion people, what an opportunity we are sitting at.
Absolutely.
Right? And with the art of manufacturing, the way we are, if we can bring in the deficiencies into our cycle, we'll continue to deliver the stunning value to the Indian consumers. Yeah, we'll just keep them happy.
Absolutely. If you close your eyes, all of you.
मैं थोड़ा कॉन्ट्रेरी बात करूंगा कि मेरा मानना है you put the numbers, टाइमलाइन अभी मत पूछना, लेकिन हिंदुस्तान का ब्रांड मेरे ख्याल से नेक्स्ट जारा प्राइमार्क हिंदुस्तान से निकलेगा.
और जैसे राम जी ने बोला, अगर आप आंख बंद करके सोचोगे तो वैल्यू रिटेल का TCS, इन्फोसिस, विप्रो यहाँ बैठा हुआ है. It also says अगर वो लोग listed है तो yeah, go ahead please.
Hi, I just wanted to know, I think the point that Mr. Nagesh made, the last point about sustainability, where we are talking about volumes, consumption and everything, but sustainability is not volumes, is not so how do you strike that balance between sustainability and bringing down consumption levels, if one may say? How do you ensure that retail becomes sustainable, brands become sustainable? What would be the way forward?
Over the years, the government has sort of kept redefining the norms that are there in terms of zero discharge, etc., consumption levels, rainwater harvesting, recycling of water. Believe me, and some of the best-in-class factories run in this country at the best-in-class standards, right? Wherever the compliance is happening. I don't believe that the compliance standards are getting compromised. If there are challenges, it's more to do with the fact that because we are sharing resources in India. So many of these resources are operated by the government or a body of the government, and many times, they fail the factories more often than ever. And which is what I was trying to say, is that all of a sudden there's a disruption in the supply chain. A very important market like Ludhiana, which is a critical market for manufacturing, and last few days, there's a lot of buzz around it, the fact that the government is going to act and the common discharge system will not work. All of that is scary because there's going to be a disruption in the product line, and that will disrupt everything. But the number of people who are going to go out of jobs, right? Majority of the people who work here are based on productivity norms, right? So if I would say to you the fact that you need to think through hard when the word sustainability is very good for a $60,000 country like Norway and Europe talking about sustainability at the level that they want to do. It doesn't by any definition mean the fact that we're polluting the world or we're killing our people, right? There are many other things which are happening, which happens every day in our life, which we can do better. But the textile industry is a compliant industry.
No, Rakesh, I think
that is the reality of life today.
One of the things we just so that we can give more questions. One of the things is sustainability should also be seen from the way you're generating employment. Sustainability is just not environment. I think you have to go a little wider. Yes, sir.
Yes, this is.
You're giving 2 mics to 2 people. You will get the chance first.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. This is Salil Chawla, DFU Publication. Very, very mesmerizing and engaging discussion. And icing on the cake has been Nagesh ji, with his rich experience. He has added
It's his birthday today.
Okay, God bless him.
All cake
long
is theirs.
life, long life. The question I need to ask is, the jury is out. I will address saying customer is she, because she's become king to queen. So where is she going to go? To left or right? I don't know. Online is left, offline is left. And the argument Rakesh ji made that validation. Argument Ramji made that the online is going to take over, But I think I read somewhere Shakespeare says that truth lies somewhere in the middle. If that is the way the things have to happen, are we heading to omnification? So what is the answer? Anyone can answer this. Where are we going to head to?
Suman, you want to take it up? Omnification. Naya word suna, huh?
I mean, omnification, contextual omnipresence,
Omnipresence is going spiritual, no? Let's stay on the ground. Yeah.
It's a forecasting question.
Achha,
I have to get to a higher plane to answer it. But I think it's given. I think there is no one cookie cutter approach that is going to work. The customer is moving in getting inspired somewhere, seeking validation somewhere, purchasing somewhere. There is no evidence today that all of these 3 places are going to be one place. If customer is having different touch points from making up the mind to making the last mile decision, then businesses have to be present where customer is making that choice. So this is not a choice for businesses, this is choice for the customer, and therefore we serve customers, we follow the customer.
Also, Suman, I think the way customer is behaving, I mean, who could have thought that you'll have a wedding garment going on quick commerce? Manyavar. Do you really sell on quick commerce? Koi khareedta hai?
So sales wise, Diwali was very good. Just to the
quick commerce.
Yeah.
20 minutes delivery.
Yeah. So whatever we sent, 95% of the inventory was sold out on quick commerce. And then.
So शादी पहले कपड़ा पहले which one?
So ये Diwali का use case था. But the interesting stories we got on Twitter.
Wow.
On Twitter we had a man commenting that it was my haldi function, and because there were so many requirements from my fiance that doing all of those I forgot I had to buy my own outfit. Wow. And she would have killed me after all the efforts I've put, but finally I found a kurta, yellow kurta on Instamart or Blinkit, one of these platforms. And I was able to arrive to my own haldi ceremony being dressed.
Bigta hai na bigta, but this is a great story to market now. Yeah?
So I must say that the effort that they put in for Diwali parties actually worked very well. Because I have a lot of friends who do this shuttle, because they work for these multinational, and multinational all of a sudden announces, okay, we're going to have a Diwali party, and they've come unprepared, right? And that's where the savior was. Manyavar on Blinkit, Manyavar on... So, and of course the images which came out were also interesting. They all look brothers because they were wearing matching clothes, right?
Wonderful. No, I think the answer here is that the women and the consumer is becoming omnipresent, whichever. So we have no option then to serve her, and we have to serve her when she wants or when he wants. So we have no choice. Those of us who are not able to serve her, we are losing. And I think that's the reality. Yeah? Yes, please.
I've been a part of...
Keep the mic near you.
I've been part of managing retail supply chain. I think the big gap today, according to me, is that...
I think your mic is not working. Can you pass on the mic, please? You're holding the mic?
Yeah, it's okay now?
No, it's not. Your mic is not working. You have to switch it on. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the big gap today I see is that the amount of effort which has been put in by the retail company in terms of sourcing and managing the supply chain. Because I have studied some supply chain for FMCG also in ITC. The amount of effort they put in terms of managing the entire FMCG supply chain, in terms of inventory at the various stages of the supply chain, that efforts probably is not being put in by the garmenting retail company, most of them, in terms of sourcing.
So that's a comment for all of you to learn and listen to.
No, I want to know if somebody is really... Because some of these companies came as a sourcing companies in India lately. But then they pegged themselves as a buying company.
I'll just give you an example. At a time when I was retail early times, we used to talk of selling 100 garments a day. It used to be big. Today Zudio says you sell how many t-shirts a second? 5,000 t-shirts a second or 10 seconds. I mean, let's not question the efficiency of supply chain if somebody is able to sell 5,000 t-shirts every 10 seconds or a minute. So there is a movement, but probably you are setting up the benchmark on a very high
Is it
level.
the responsive supply chain? Is it agile? Is it the cost of the supply
Well,
chain?
this word is agile, this word is responsive. I mean, somebody delivers a garment before Haldi function is really agile.
I don't agree with his viewpoint at all. Sit down. I think supply chain has evolved a lot. Right? Myntra is a great example in terms of the kind of supply chain that we are able to run into those thousands and multi-10 thousands of pin codes in this country. Delivery works unbelievably efficiently, and if you have very clear processes running in your warehouses work unbelievably efficiently today. There is just nothing like that, and if ITC had a problem, I'm sure that's the reason what has happened to Wills as a brand. So let's move forward to the next question.
I also feel that we should appreciate and respect the fact that the way quick commerce, the way technology for assisting consumer to shop better has grown. I think it's hats off. I mean, I have seen this journey. Okay, it's hats off the way things have actually improved. We'll take one last question. Are you a Gen Z?
I'm 30 years old, so...
I was just looking if there's any Gen Z here, anyhow. Why are you waving the...
Two mics.
Okay, so last two questions if organizers allow. Only one question?
For me. One for me also.
Oh, the organizer himself wants a question. Okay, please go ahead.
So, hi. My name is Kavin and we own a women's ethnic wear brand based out of Chennai. So, our challenge is the inventory turnaround ratio, which I think we face. And we analyzed that the inventory turnaround ratio is not because of the style selling. We would have had an expansion plan, and if that expansion plan does not meet out, because women's wear, again, the trend keeps changing, and then that stock gets held up. So how do you plan inventory for expansion? So that's
I would suggest take this question offline, because this is a full session by itself. And if you want to get an answer, talk to
There'll be an announcement of a master class.
Yeah,
you
can do a master class.
You have to just pay and there are tickets available for that master class.
Just since we are sitting in Delhi, I was told the last 3 months, Delhi government didn't allow any construction of any new properties. And therefore, all retailers who had planned to open stores during November, December, January are sitting with inventories. Okay, like he was saying, we don't know what can happen externally. I mean, these are perils of being there. Yes, please.
Yeah, thanks. Excellent discussion. This is Kamlesh. I just have one question on sustainability. And few of the panelists, said it like we are excellent, sustainable community. I mean, across the world, if you compare, but we don't dictate, we don't write the law. We don't prepare the framework, it's dictated by somewhere else. I'm just talking more of the European Union, the directive. So I just wanted to ask the industry readiness where you are given 2030 the deadline, and again the textile recycling, how you see challenges, opportunity, and what.
Will this impact the retail? I'm saying will it impact the retail ecosystem? It is more towards the manufacturing ecosystem. हम लोग बाहर वालों की बहुत सुन रहे हैं.
Really, I mean, like maybe domestic market may not be impacted much, but definitely.
So that's why I'm saying, because this is a domestic panel, value panel. Therefore, I don't know, but I think one of the things I always keep saying is ESG is also about environment, sustainability, and governance. Okay, for some reason we only talk of sustainability. And when we talk of sustainability, we only get into the environment part of it, or the sustainability. There's lots of things happening. I mean, I have seen my 33 years journey, the way the governance is improving in this country. Don't forget, we were 100% traditional retailers. 33% have become modernized. So there's a huge, if you look at from a proper glass half full, I think there's a lot of change that's happening. If you look at from an emptiness, I think there's a huge opportunity for us. Yeah, thank you. Yes, please, last question to you.
Okay. So we all live in a very disruptive
world.
world.
Stand up, now let everybody see you.
Okay,
yeah.
We all live in a very disruptive world. So my question is, Shein is being reintroduced in India. We have seen fast fashion changing. We have seen very good roadmaps, what you spoke about. So I'm talking on the flip side. How do you see this introduction of Shein back in India in that segment? Is it going to be a disruptor? How we see DeepSeek now doing for AI? Is it going to be a threat for offline, online? I don't know. Anyone you can address that.
First and foremost, more the merrier. There is enough reason to believe that the market needs to be invigorated by a whole bunch of players. For instance, online came in, I think has become so much more entrenched in the last 10 years, 15 years. Quick commerce is today a reality. It's the fact is the market expands when you have a lot of different solutions being thrown at the customers and they pick and choose. So one model winning doesn't necessarily mean another model not winning / losing. And to that extent, I do believe in the years ahead, there will be multiple successful models, there will be multiple successful brands. And specifically to the point that you made about Shein, Shein was already in the full Chinese version, was already present in the country for several years. So it's in a new avatar now. So I think it's more the merrier.
With Reliance.
Even better.
I also think we should appreciate ourselves. We are very good at innovating, we are very good at copying also. Okay? And if you look at all of us sitting here, okay, we have original formats and we have copied formats. And we are copying from each other, we are growing. But it's not that somebody has been brought down when we are growing. The growth is happening. It's just that somebody else is taking the growth, the pie is increasing. Yeah. So I think it's a great opportunity. India is a great opportunity. Affordable fashion is a great opportunity. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for listening. डर लग रहा था केवल 15 लोग बैठे थे, एटलीस्ट अभी 100 लोग हैं. So at least it's all gone very well. And a round of applause for the panel that we have.